I wasn't supposed to survive the Battle of Kepler Station, but here I am, 23 years later, telling you what really happened when humanity first showed the galaxy what war actually means. My name is Commander Sarah Chen, and I was there when everything changed. I was there when the Zephyrian Collective learned that some species don't just fight to survive, they fight to win. The Collective had ruled the Outer Rim for 8 centuries. 47 different alien species, all bound under their blue and silver banner of peaceful expansion. They called it diplomacy, but anyone who looked close enough could see the truth. Join them willingly, or get crushed by their fleets. They'd absorbed entire civilizations without firing a shot, simply by showing up with enough firepower to turn planets into glass. When they came to our sector, they expected the same easy victory they'd gotten everywhere else. Humanity was young, barely 300 years off Earth, with colonies scattered across maybe 20 systems. Our ships were crude compared to their sleek, energy-shielded vessels. Our weapons were kinetic, primitive, loud. They probably thought we'd roll over the moment their ambassador delivered the ultimatum. I was serving aboard the UES Defiance, a heavy cruiser that had seen better decades. Captain Marcus Kane, a grizzled veteran of the Martian independence wars, called us into the briefing room when the Collective's message came through. The hologram flickered to life, showing a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms and eyes like liquid mercury. "Greetings, human leadership," the alien said, its voice carrying that condescending tone I'd come to hate. "I am High Arbiter Veltar of the Zephyrian Collective. Your species has been selected for integration into our peaceful coalition. Surrender your military assets, and your people will be granted citizenship within our expansive empire. Resist, and face the consequences of defying a power beyond your understanding." Kane shut off the hologram and looked at us with those steel-gray eyes that had stared down rebellion and piracy for 30 years. "Gentlemen, ladies, it seems someone's forgotten to check our service records." The room was quiet except for the hum of the ship's reactor. Then Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez spoke up. "Sir, what are our orders?" Kane's smile was cold as vacuum. "Orders are simple. Show them what humans do when someone tries to take our homes." He paused, scanning each of us. "They want to see real war. We'll give them a masterclass." The Collective gave us 72 hours to surrender. We used every minute. Emergency broadcasts went out to every human colony, every military installation, every civilian militia that could hold a weapon. This wasn't just about defending territory anymore. This was about sending a message to the galaxy that humanity doesn't kneel. Our fleet wasn't massive by collective standards. 63 ships in total, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to nimble frigates. But what we lacked in numbers, we made up for in experience. Every captain in that fleet had cut their teeth in real combat, not the sanitized peacekeeping missions the Collective called warfare. They came at us with 230 ships, expecting quick capitulation. Their formation was beautiful, I'll give them that. Perfect geometric patterns, shields shimmering like soap bubbles, weapons charged but not yet firing. They still thought this was going to be a negotiation backed by overwhelming force. Kane's voice crackled over the fleet comm, "All ships, this is Defiance Actual. Remember, we're not here to trade punches. We're here to break them so hard they tell stories about it for the next 1,000 years. Weapons free." The opening salvo tore through their front line like a hurricane through tissue paper. Our kinetic weapons, those primitive rail guns and mass drivers they dismissed, punched through their energy shields like they weren't even there. The physics were simple. Energy shields were designed to deflect energy weapons, not stop solid projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. I watched through the Defiance's tactical display as the first Collective battleship simply came apart. No dramatic explosion, no burning wreckage drifting through space. Just a sleek alien warship there one moment, gone the next, replaced by expanding clouds of debris and atmosphere. Their return fire was immediate and devastating. Plasma lances and particle beams lit up the void, carving burning wounds into our hulls. The UES Vigilant took a direct hit to her engine section and went dark, but not before her captain managed to launch every torpedo she had. Even dying, we were still fighting. But the real shock came when the Collective tried to board one of our damaged ships. The UES Ranger had lost main power and was drifting, apparently helpless. Collective Marines in their ceremonial white armor jetpacked across the gap, probably expecting to find a crew ready to surrender. They found Captain Sarah Morrison and 63 very angry humans with nothing left to lose. The boarding action lasted 18 minutes. When it was over, not a single Collective Marine made it back to their ships. Morrison's crew had turned their own vessel into a death trap, using everything from improvised explosives to hand-to-hand combat in the corridors. The Collective had never seen anything like it. In their experience, crews abandoned ship when things got desperate. They didn't stay and fight room by room with knives and spanners. That's when I saw the first crack in their formation. Ships that had been advancing suddenly slowed, their captains probably trying to process what they'd just witnessed. Veltar's face appeared on our screens again, no longer composed and diplomatic. "This is madness," he said, and I could hear genuine confusion in his voice. "Your ship is crippled. Your crew should have evacuated. Why do they choose death over survival?" Kane laughed, actually laughed, over the open channel. "Because that's what humans do, you blue-skinned bureaucrat. We don't quit. We don't run. We win or we die trying." The battle raged for 6 hours. We lost ships, good ships with good crews, but every loss cost them dearly. The UES Thunder broke apart under concentrated fire, but not before ramming a Collective carrier and taking it down in a ball of fusion fire. The UES Phoenix lost all her weapons but kept fighting anyway, using her engines as weapons to cook enemy fighters that got too close. By hour 4, something had changed in the Collective formation. They were fighting more cautiously, keeping their distance, trying to use their range advantage. But caution breeds hesitation, and hesitation kills you in a real fight. That's when Kane played our ace. "Chen, tell me you've got a firing solution on their flagship." I checked the tactical display. The Collective command ship was a massive thing, twice the size of our biggest dreadnought, hanging back in the center of their formation like a spider in a web. "I've got it, sir, but it's at extreme range. Barely a 12% hit probability. 12% is good enough for human gunnery. Take the shot." The Defiance's main gun was a monster, a magnetic acceleration cannon that could put a tungsten rod through a small moon. It had never been fired at this range before, but we'd run out of safe options hours ago. I fed the targeting data into the fire control system, adjusted for the target's movement, their ship's defensive maneuvers, even the gravitational pull of a nearby gas giant. The shot took 8 seconds to cross the distance. For 8 seconds, everyone on both sides held their breath. Then Veltar's flagship simply ceased to exist, vaporized by a tungsten rod moving at 30% of light speed. The effect on the Collective fleet was immediate and devastating. Ships that had been pressing their attack suddenly broke off. Others began to retreat outright. Within 10 minutes, their entire formation was in disarray. Kane opened a channel to the entire Collective fleet. "This is Captain Marcus Kane of the United Earth Space Force. Your High Arbiter is dead. Your flagship is scrap. You have 30 seconds to jump to FTL and get out of our space, or we finish what you started." Some of them tried to keep fighting. Those ships died quickly and messily, torn apart by concentrated fire from our remaining vessels. The smart ones, the ones who understood what they'd just witnessed, powered down their weapons and withdrew. But we weren't done. Kane had one more message to send. "Admiral Torres, deploy the packages." Throughout the battle, some of our ships had been launching what looked like escape pods toward Collective vessels. The aliens had ignored them, assuming they were just crew abandoning ship. They were wrong. Each pod contained a human crew member, enough explosives to cripple a cruiser, and a timer. 17 collective ships were still trying to retreat when the packages detonated. The explosions lit up the void like new stars, each one a message written in fire and fury. We didn't just defeat you. We followed you home. The survivors jumped to FTL and never came back. Within a week, reports started filtering in from across the sector. The collective was pulling back, abandoning forward positions, consolidating their fleets. Word of the battle had spread, and with it, a new understanding of what humanity represented. We weren't just another species to be absorbed. We were something the galaxy hadn't seen in centuries. A species that fought wars to win them, not just survive them. A species that would turn their own ships into weapons rather than surrender. A species that understood that sometimes, the only way to ensure peace is to make war so terrible that no one wants to try you again. I stayed in the service for another 15 years after Kepler Station. Fought in 3 more major campaigns, commanded my own ship, earned more medals than I knew what to do with. But nothing ever matched that first battle, that moment when we showed the galaxy what real war looked like. The collective still exists, but they give human space a very wide berth. Their diplomats are more polite now, their expansion more cautious. They learned what every bully eventually learns. There's always someone bigger and meaner out there. They just never expected it to be us. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we tried diplomacy first, if we'd negotiated instead of fighting. Then I remember Veltar's arrogant face, his assumption that we just roll over like everyone else had. Some lessons can only be taught with blood and fire. The galaxy is a more peaceful place now, in its own way. Not because everyone's become enlightened, but because everyone remembers what happened at Kepler Station. They remember that humans don't fight wars to make a point or claim territory. We fight wars to end them. Kane died 5 years after the battle, peacefully in his sleep on a colony world somewhere on the rim. His last words were supposedly about that first salvo, about the look on Veltar's face when he realized diplomacy was off the table. I like to think he died satisfied, knowing he'd helped write humanity's name across the stars in letters too bright to ignore. As for me, I'm retired now, living quietly on New Geneva, teaching tactical theory to the next generation of officers. My students always ask about Kepler Station, about what it felt like to be there when everything changed. I tell them it felt like coming home. For the first time in human history, we were fighting exactly the kind of war we were born to fight. Total, ruthless, and decisive. The galaxy learned something important that day. Humanity doesn't just have weapons and ships and clever tactics. We have something far more dangerous. We have the will to use them without hesitation, without mercy, without stopping until the job is done. That's what real war looks like. And God help anyone who makes us show them again.